Okay, everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Dr. Novak again. Okay, I'm going to show three different aquariums here. And this one's by Brandon, and he made this for his son. And it's pretty unique. It's a pretty nice child's aquarium. Reminds you of like a Pirates of the Caribbean theme. And like my aquarium, when I was a child, it didn't have any light plants. It was all plastic plants. Uh, you know, you're a kid. I didn't have any light plant. I think the only light plant I ever had was a banana plant, and they usually didn't last long. They usually died, maybe because of the incandescent lighting that we used back then. It just wasn't enough. Anyhow, let's see. I'll tell you what he says. I made a do-it-yourself overhead sump out of a plastic window planter. He put egg crate at the bottom of it with some PVC, and he put an submersible pump into the planter. He made 3 BCB bags, and the bags he got from Amazon. And the bags contain safety Zorb, which he got from a Tractor Supply House, and some laterite powdered for the iron. Let's see, the plants are pothos, spider plants, not doing great, using arrow plants, about dead, and some anthurium. The anthurium he's using, that could take more water. That kind of reminds me of, the anthurium reminds me of what we call the Easter lily plant. Kind of reminds you, it's could be maybe in the same family. I'm not sure, but it kind of reminds me of that, except the anthuriums will have a thicker leaf, and they usually have a waxy flower and more colorful. They'll have like a nice, because I have some out in my lanai, and the leaves are actually beautiful. I like it better than the Easter lily that I have, which only has the white flowers to it, where the anthurium seems to have a lot better color leaves, or flower, I should say, to it. Anyhow, I set up the BCBs in the overhead sump about 7 months ago. I had some algae problems when I did. Everything was getting covered with algae. I purposely didn't clean it off because I wanted to see how well the BCB stripped out the nutrients. In other words, he's looking for if they're doing, if you're new here, it'd be your nitrates and your phosphates. That's what's going to cause your algae problems. Well, it's almost non-existent now. The fish are happy and healthy, even though I'm not regular on my water changes. And that's good to hear, because a lot of people do not do regular water changes. I know there are people that insist you do water changes, but in the real world, people don't. So that's good to hear. He's being honest with that. His next step will be, for his aquarium, we'll build a plenum. And he likes to keep the tank overstocked. I guess his son likes the little fish in it, so he keeps it overstocked. Who doesn't? I mean, I know you look on YouTube and they have this big, beautiful tank with 15 little neons in it swimming around, but that's not reality. Reality is kind of people overstock their tanks with fish. Glad the BCBs are there to help out. Well, thank you, Brandon, for sending me a picture of your son's aquarium that you made and how you are doing the filtration. By the way, he uses a over-the-tank filtration for it. You can actually buy over-the-tank filtrations if you don't want to make one. Go on Amazon and just type in over-the-tank filters, and you'll find some. They come with the motor, everything else all built in. In fact, I have one that sits right over the tank, comes with the motor and everything else, and basically you can use that to put PCB bags in, which is what Brandon did. So thank you, Brandon, for sending me that. Excellent looking tank. Really enjoyed it. Okay, this next tank is by Romero. It's a 180-gallon tank. He's got 3 premium undergravel filters from Lee. He's using in this tank 3 JP-024 22-watt power heads. And let's see, he's got 2 JK CRWOT LED lights, 46.5 inches, for freshwater and marine aquarium applications, full spectrum blue and white, and 1 Fluval heater of 300 watts. As you can see, this big, huge tank, it looks like an African cichlid tank, but it also looks like he has some convex cichlids in it. Yeah, I would say those look like convicts to me. My tank has been up and running for 3 years, and I just recently came across your channel and immediately subscribed to it. I'm so grateful for all the knowledge that you are sharing on your channel. I started learning about plenums and anoxic filtration. Every time that I have free time, I'm watching one of your videos from your archives. I'm about to do a plenum with these 3 undergravel filters without removing the entire aquarium. Sounds good. He's already has the plates there and everything. I look under my tank and there is no opening between each plate, so water can't run from one plate to the other. Since I have 3 plates, can I do 3 air stones and cut down the tubing? Answer to Romero's question is absolutely. You have the tubing, all you have to do is move away a little bit of the thing, cut down your tubing, and use air stone. You know, no more than maybe 10 gallons an hour, maybe 40 max, is all you have to run through each plate, Romero. And you're not going to have then all those power heads squirting out those micro bubbles as we're looking at. You know, this is a prime example of how we used to set up tanks back in the late 70s, 80s when they came out with power heads. And I guess you could look at this and kind of see, like if you look at this picture right here, you can kind of see like, well, no wonder people kind of went out of favor with undergravel filters. The big long tubing, power heads, too many bubbles in the tank. I could see where you know, even myself, it just cosmetically wasn't something that people wanted. So yeah, he can cut down the tubing and go definitely with, if he wants a bubbler, he could go with that. He doesn't have to have them bubbling quite that strong. So Romero, he asked for any recommendations. I would definitely recommend that. With very little work to convert it over to a slow-moving plenum. And technically speaking, people, he has a plenum because each of those undergravel filter plates are going to be at least a ½ inch off the bottom, which is a plenum. So he just wants to run it slower, fine. Maybe he may want to even mix up his stones. Maybe he wants to keep them the way they are. Not the stones, I should say the shells. I don't know if he's going to add anything to it. That's up to him. Or let's see, cutting down the, let's see what else has he got. It's been years since I didn't use an air pump. It's been years since he's used an air pump, so I'm not sure what size will be good for the 3 air stones and the size of tank. Well, believe me, you're not really going to need a very powerful air pump as you think. You could probably get you're going to need a gang valve, Romero, okay, which will have 3 outlets so you can run all 3 of them, and 1 air pump going to that. I believe that you can get by with just one air pump, so that's going to be very cheap. You can get by with it, let's say a Tetra or something like that air pump. I would go to like maybe a 30-gallon air pump, because you're not going to need a lot of air. Believe it or not, you're not going to need a lot for those three. I know that's hard to believe. So basically you have a real good start there, where you'll just need the gang valve. And I believe they come in 3 and 4 different gangs where you can connect all your air lines up to one pump. Piece of cake, no problems at all. That's what I would do. Cutting down let's see. I also thought about cutting down the 3 tubes all the way, connecting them all together with a 90-degree elbow and T, having them connect to the inlet canister filter and eliminate those 3 power heads. That's also a option, but you have to remember, how strong is your canister filter? Is it maybe a little too strong? I don't know. Will you have to have some kind of valve on it where water will take the least resistance? So that's something you'll have to think about. Or should I just do a slow flow plenum and have the canister filter do its normal function? To me, you could probably go with the canister just doing its normal function. And here, of course, is his heater. And you saw his power heads. So he's wanting to get rid of that. That's what I would probably do. Just keep it simple and see how it works out before he goes through making all kinds of teas and everything. Okay, in this tank, we're going to talk about Jeff's tank here. Jeff made a YouTube video that I will list it below so you can click on it and watch it. It's a 75-gallon volcano tank, he calls it. And this will be his latest video, so you can click below about it. Let's see a little bit about the tank. 1/3 of the tank is a volcano filter I designed. The other 2/3 of the tank is using a plenum with a slow bubbler. We'll describe below. The tank is also CO2 injected using an inline heater and an inline CO2 diffuser. Atomic inline CO2 atomizer diffuser. Let's see, on the output of the Rena Filter Star XP3 canister filter, which is only used for mechanical filtration and to hide any heater and CO2 diffusion. So the inline atomic inline CO2 diffuser he's using, I think I've seen those where they connect up, you cut your hose and you add it in there between the hoses on the outlet. So when the CO2 goes in, it pushes the bubbles out from there. I've seen them being sold on Amazon and everything. The lighting is the Fluval Planta 3.0. It's on from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Ramps up the first 2 hours to 100%, except a blue, which only goes to 10% at its peak. All other colors ramp up to 100%. Then the last 2 hours ramps back down to 0 on all colors. Now, when you watch the video, you'll see on, I think it's the left-hand side, is where he has all these bubbles coming up. That's probably from his volcano. Let's see how the volcano side works and set up. Volcano is sitting on top of some lava rock to allow water to flow into the volcano. I have a round bubbler under the volcano and filled the volcano with crushed lava rock, so lots of surface area. Then I made a sand divider between the lava rock side and the plenum side, so the plenum works as designed and will not pull water in from the lava rock side. Plenum side, have an under gravel filter at the bottom covered with window screen. First layer is 1 to 1.5 inch baked kitty litter. Okay, cover kitty litter with a heavy coating of laterite powder. Next layer is approximately 4 to 6 inches, is a mixture of Echo Complete and fluval stratum, deeper towards the back. A long time ago when we used to make under gravel filters, that was standard. And the front would be 3 inches and the back would always be like 5 inches or something. Very typical of how you did under gravel filters. So what he's doing, it's nothing new. So it shouldn't worry anybody that, oh, it's thicker in the back. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It works. Then cover with about 1/2 inch black diamond sand, which is now almost all down in the plant gravel. So in other words, it's migrating down. Really didn't think it would move that fast down into the Echo Complete and fluval stratum. Well, it would make sense. The black diamond sand he's using, it would only make sense it would migrate because, as I've said, sand compacts. And as you notice, like if you go on the beach and you grab a handful of it and squeeze it real tight, open it up, it still stays in its shape, you know. So being that the sand is just so small, it's just migrating into the cracks down below into the mix. Will it cause a problem? No, not really. It's just going to be, oh, maybe it's not going to be the aesthetics that you wanted it to be. Okay, that's the only thing I could say. Maybe it's just not what you wanted. As for stats, for the first 2 months, it didn't have much of nitrates. The nitrates moved up for about a month. After 4 months, nitrates now are zero or near zero. Never even hits 5 parts per million. So that's pretty good, as nitrates are very stable at 5 parts per million or less. Loving this tank. Water changes. Last one I did was about a year ago. Once again, that's good to hear. And I know a lot of people may criticize me for saying that, but believe me, it is good to hear because a lot of people who are watching this cannot do water changes like we insist they do. In reality, people can't do them. So going for 6 months to a year without doing a water change, it's good to hear that he's having good success with his aquarium without doing the water changes. And I'm sure people in other countries love hearing that because they do not have the luxury as we do in America. The tank has been running for about 15 months now. As for fertilizers, I only dose Brightwell Flora Multi, which is your Micro Plus potassium, 2 capfuls per week. And the only reason is all my Java Fern were not doing well. Potassium deficiency, it seemed like what is Java Fern, as you see the picture here is Java Fern, was showing a potassium deficiency. And he said, just to give a little more update, as far as algae, all my previous tanks, I always fought algae issues. In other words, he's made more than just this tank. Always has algae issues. And the main algae issue was blackbeard algae. After completely tearing down and setting up this new tank, almost no new tank, I like that, 1.5 year old new tank. It's a new tank, 1.5 year old already. Okay, anyhow, almost no algae at all. I get little on the lava rock. I'll explain that. The reason you're getting algae on your lava rock is lava rock has these pores in it, and these pores start filling up with detritus, and that has a breeding ground for not only bacteria, unfortunately, it also is a breeding ground for algae. So that's the reason your lava rock is doing that. There's an explanation. So whenever you use lava rock, remember, those pores or pumice, those pores are going to get clogged up, and they can make a breeding ground for bacteria, but also help encourage algae growth. And some driftwood. Well, once again, we understand why driftwood would, because it's once again a porous material. But it's natural. In other words, it looks natural. I like the way it looks. As far as the glass, I have not cleaned the glass in 9 months, and it's almost completely clear. From now on, I'm using a plenum with kitty litter instead of daily cleaning, etc. Now I can actually enjoy the tank. You know, I made mention of that. And if Jeff has been watching my videos, I have made mention of that, is everything seems to, once things are going, like with my 90-gallon and so forth, it seems to get boring. Everything seems to just be falling into place. Cleaning of the glass doesn't have to be done that much. The only bad thing is the plants, if you're using CO2, and it can get a little out of hand. Okay, mine have, and they have grown quite profusely and proliferate quite a lot, where they're sending out runners like crazy. And even though several months ago, the front of the aquarium I took and cut down all the plants like a lawnmower, just cut it right down to the substrate level. It's all growing back. No problems at all. The crypt is all coming back. The Italian veil that I have in there, it's all coming back. Even though I cut everything down right down to the substrate, it's coming back like nobody's business. So the whole tank is self-sufficient. So that's what I like. I understand that that not everybody wants a jungle tank or anything like that, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes we just have to put up with the good and the bad and the ugly of the whole thing. And the good part is your plants will grow profusely, and the bad part is it may be growing a little too much for some people, like in my 90-gallon. And I admit I get lazy about the 90-gallon. I don't really do the maintenance like I should. I do empty water out of it, and that's about it. Exchange water, but other than that, no, I don't do much maintenance at all with the plants. I just let them grow, and in fact, I have to admit that I let them grow, and like your Amazon swords, you'll get the outer leaves. They get older, they start dying off, rotting away. I don't even pull them out of the tank. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't. I let them just rot away in the tank and let it do its thing naturally. And the tank will be what? I'll be over 2 years old next month. Tank will be over 2 years old. And I do very, very little work on that tank. Cleaning filters, everything, all the maintenance is so low keyed that all I'm doing is enjoying the tank, just like Jeff is enjoying his tank. But as you can see, he's being honest. He said, hey, I've done other tanks. All I had was problems with them. I changed it over. Been running for 15 months now. Very little problems with it. So it's good to hear. I'm glad these individuals sent me pictures of their aquarium, update, things that they're having success with, things they are not having success with, like Romero and the tanks that are using the spider plants and stuff. Yeah, spider plants, they don't really do good if they're soaked in water constantly like that. They seem to drown. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed these 3 people who have sent me their aquarium pictures. I think we all can learn from what they are doing. Don't forget to go down into where the comments and stuff are and click on Jeff's video so you can watch it. It's not a very long video. It's a very short video. Go on and he shows you the whole tank of what it looks like. and his little volcano off to it's on the left-hand side, the volcano part of it. And on the right-hand side, the other 2/3 will be your plenum, slow-moving plenum that he's having such success with. And there's another thing we all have to think about. All these aquariums we are looking at, I like them. They're not like you see on YouTube channels where they're absolutely perfect. They don't give everybody the impression that you have to have these show tanks that look like you're entering a contest and trying to win first place. You notice they're tanks. They're nice. They're just people's tanks. And that's great, because almost the way YouTube is showing it, you have to have all these tanks that, look like they're out of a picture book. And as you notice, none of these tanks are out of a picture book, but they're all very nice and appeasing to the eye. And yeah, they don't look like the Dutch tanks or whatever, but these people don't want to go through a lot of work. I don't want to go through a lot of work, so I don't care. I don't want to be trimming every single, week and touching up everything. So anyhow, that's it for this video. I want to thank you for watching, and till next time, happy fish keeping. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. I know it's a lot of people watch my channel, but they don't subscribe to it, just like every other channel out there. And I want to thank those who have sent me pictures. There are still a lot more coming. And I think this is a good way for all of us to learn when people send information about their aquariums and how they did it and the troubles they had and how they got over their problems. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and happy fish keeping.